Joining us now to discuss the science of entrepreneurship is Bryan Hattingh, who is CEO of Cycan. Bryan, thanks so much for your time.
Fifi, real pleasure. Thank you for having me.
First question, is entrepreneurship something that you're born with, or is it something that you can be taught to do?
So I think that born is a big word. I don't think there's certain genetic components that make up entrepreneurs. One could get into a debate around the neurology of it, and there might be some things that date back there. But specifically, I think nurture nature does. If you grow up in a family of entrepreneurs, I think that can strongly influence you. I think that the surroundings you're in and your appetite for taking risk.
Sure. Your
level of curiosity. I think curiosity's got to be a key ingredient in any and every entrepreneur, and in fact anybody today surviving in an uncertain world. I think that some people do have personality and charisma, but you know what? Personality and charisma runs out after a while. It's about character, and character is about the choices that you make and working through the tough stuff, confronting your fears, working through your self-limiting beliefs, understanding that risk is a very big part of the world of entrepreneurship. But very importantly, it's got to be about a vision and a passion, and more than just a good idea. Good ideas are important, but it's got to be about wanting to serve, wanting to make a difference, wanting to add value. Branson put it beautifully. He said, true entrepreneurs never set out to make money. They set out to do something nobody's ever done before, or do something better than anybody's done. And as a consequence of that, they make money.
It's true. And when you mention Branson obviously ranks amongst the list of your Zuckerbergs, of your Steve Jobs, who all have one thing in common, of not finishing school. In fact, there was John Collins. He's the world's youngest billionaire, dollar billionaire. And he also didn't finish school. So, which begs the question, whether is this the path to follow with entrepreneurship, to get out of your status quo of formal structures of learning to go and do your own thing? Or can you be an entrepreneur having followed your varsity throughout the entire duration and make it?
So I think there's something that permeates throughout it all, and it's all about timing. So for some people on that journey of education, or their journey through their lives, they might be a little more impatient. They might have got the vision. They might see the opportunities. They might have already been, even in school days, been practicing some forms of small little own business thing that they're doing, whether it's buying and selling certain commodities or what they might be doing, and they want to get out and do it. And in fact, the educational qualification isn't required. It's a good thing to do, and there's good learnings that come from it. But I think what's more important is your willingness to, step out and be uncomfortable, to be in a space of uncertainty, and but importantly, with foresight, with planning. Goal setting is such an important thing, and yet it's so hugely under-practiced, particularly written goal setting. And self isn't waiting to be discovered. Self's waiting to be created. And you create self by setting meaningful, progressive, worthwhile goals that you get out and pursue. And that often drives then the behaviors and gets you to that space. In life we do things either to avoid a loss or to make a gain. And in the absence of a bigger picture, we're going to make decisions based on face value. So importantly, as you start planning towards bigger things and setting goals, whatever they may be, not just material, but goals of accomplishment, goals of whatever they might be, and those things really resonate with you, and they link to your highest levels of purpose and meaning, you then are going to push through the tough stuff, because on the way to success, on the way to being that billionaire, a lot of the things are not just about doing, they're about becoming. It's about overcoming self-limiting beliefs, confronting your fears, working through the tough stuff.
But then within the context of South Africa, how easy is that to do? And I speak because entrepreneurship now has been put on the table as our savior to the unemployment crisis. Young people are being encouraged to open their own businesses and, get going. But these young people are confronted by a backdrop of access to finance being difficult. A lot of them couldn't actually finish school because of the lack of funds. So skills is even an issue, and therefore you don't really inspire confidence amongst people who you're looking to for finance. So I ask, in terms of having an appetite for risk and pushing through the difficulty within the context for a South African child, how understandable is it that they're not able to because of their economic background?
So what's interesting, I've had the privilege of interviewing in different situations all sorts of incredible young people that are out below the radar. It's like this archipelago of lights that's not seen,
Sure.
of out in the rural areas, in urban areas as well, doing amazing things with young people, helping them to discover self-mastery, helping them to learn. So those type of things need to be known about. They need to be fostered. They need to be increased and accelerated. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to you, and no matter what the circumstances, it's about rising above it. There's a wonderful story, if I can share it with you, of an American man called Tom Sullivan. He rode in the Henley Regatta, wrestled in the 1968 Olympic wrestling team, qualified clinical psychologist, produced music for Aretha Franklin, Linda Ronstadt, other top names. He himself was a top performer, wrote an autobiography, done 37 skydives, ridden horses, played basketball, married with a wife and 2 children, saved his 2-year-old daughter from drowning, and plays golf to a 12 handicap, and is totally blind and has been from birth. And people say to him, how can you manage these things when you're handicapped? He says, I'm not handicapped, I'm inconvenienced. How we frame the lenses that we look at where we are and what we do helps a whole lot in terms of that journey. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy, and at times it might seem insurmountable and impossible, but you go back to all of these people who've come from really tough, Oprah's a great example of somebody who rose from nothing, who made the decision, I'm not going to accept this. And for some people that might not be easy. Some people they might not rise above it. But I think if you haven't got that yourself, look to find a mentor, look to somebody who can support you, not necessarily financially, but encourage you. Maybe find fellow like-minded friends in the neighborhood, at school, wherever it might be, who might share your vision.
And then, Bryan, just as we wrap, of course, you also rose above it. You started your business with your wife. Please correct me if I'm wrong. You worked together.
Yes.
Became very successful. You went through a merger with a bigger company, trying to take it to a bigger scale. That didn't quite work out. Y'all lost out, had to start from scratch. I mean, take us through that journey and the lessons, particularly for entrepreneurs who do get going or start, or individuals who are able to start up a business and are looking to take that next step of merging. What should they be aware of in doing this? Draw from your lessons.
Wow. So firstly, on a personal level, so going through that, I will always ask myself the question, what did I do to put myself in this position? There may be other people to blame. There may be things, and people very quickly externalize the blame and then don't take any learnings.
Sure.
What did I do? What can I do for me? And by the way, what can I take with me? That's what we did when we formed Cycan. We said, okay, this is really tragic. Great business, great brand, lost. It's gone. Get over it. Now it's time to build something new. What did we do really well, and how do we take that up the value chain, and what can we do beyond that? And Cycan, I have to tell you, is way beyond what my previous business was in terms of impact and value. If you're looking to go the route of a big brother being acquired or merging with another company, there's a lot you have to consider. The statistics are shocking. More than 70% of mergers and acquisitions across 80 years, across every industry across the world, have either failed or failed to give return on capital expended. So you've got a less than 1 in 3 chance of being successful. And most times it's about leadership and cultural disconnects. It's not about the businesses not being having synergies or being complementary. So it's very important to interrogate the agendas. Why are you doing it? Why are they doing it? What is it that they want to do for the business? Are they just going to ring fence you and let you continue to run and just be a backer and investor? Or are they going to merge you into this other entity where you lose your brand and you move into that sort of space? How much of this success story is transferable from you? At the end of the day, you probably will exit if you're moving into a bigger place. So that's a very complex subject and difficult, but I think for entrepreneurs that are wanting to get out there and to do it, we really need it in South Africa.
Sure.
The corporate South Africa and public sector have to learn to foster entrepreneurs, foster boutique and small businesses. They need to pay them on time. They need to stop bullying them. They need to get over the restrictions and governance issues that get in the way of fluid payment and fluid flow. Cash flow is king. Entrepreneurs need to know that. You can have the greatest of business, but if your cash flow is not working, it's not going to work for you.